The Washington Wizards lose to the Boston Celtics 124-90, and it was due to the defensive struggles. But were the defensive struggles inexperience or effort, or could it be offensive rebound? Come on, let's talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, a.k.a. BScott, and my guy Abdullah, a.k.a. AB, and we are both conditional members of the NBA media and your hosts for Locked On Wizards tonight. So, the Washington Wizards do lose 124-90 against the Boston Celtics, but the defensive struggles tonight, was it due to inexperience or effort, or could it be offensive rebound, which is extended possession? So, we're going to talk about that. And then, how can the Wizards help Alex Sarr unlock? Because, like I said, we know he can shoot from three, but how are ways he can get more active in the paint and really unlock his full potential going forward? So, a lot to talk about. Let's get into tonight, AB. So, again, the Washington Wizards lose. I'm not gonna call it close because it was pretty much a blowout from the tip off, man. But the defense struggled tonight, AB. So, defensive struggles. Is it due to inexperience or is it a mentality? Is it effort to you?
I'll say it's a combination of a lot of things. I get it. The Celtics, they are contending. Just came off winning a championship, but at the end of the day, giving up 32 second chance points, it's inexcusable. I'm sorry, B. It is what it is. And then getting double rebounded by that much. It's just when you factor all that, it's hard to win in today's NBA. And for the Wizards, the Celtics shot 46% from three. It's hard. And I get it. They're the Celtics. They're playing in TD Garden. But at the end of the day, losing by 34 points, these are the teams that you're going to be facing when you're contending the Celtics. They've been good for a long time. They know how to run an organization. They're a winning organization. So at the end of the day, for the Wizards, just got to learn from this. Got to do better. And if this is still a concern going into next season, where you're getting out rebounded by a lot of teams, you're getting giving up a lot of second chance points, there's got to be some cause for concern.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. When you look at it, is it due to inexperience or effort? I think it's a combination of both. Jekyll and Hyde, they need to find consistency. That's the biggest thing. You don't know what Wizards team you're really getting on any given night. There's nights where they play well, they communicate. You see the effort, you see the intensity, and there's nights where it's just like they gave up, they quit. There's no passion, there's no energy. And tonight it was one of those nights where I think they already knew that there was going to be a talent gap. I think they defeated themselves mentally before the game even started because. Look at it, it's Boston. They won the championship last year, and they're the second seed in the East Conference this year. So I think to a certain degree, they're just like, it is what it is. And we often preach about culture. The culture has to be playing hard, playing to win. And regardless of talent gap, regardless of the record of the other team, you have to play every team hard. That is the part of the championship DNA that comes with effort. So, like I said, when you look at effort, I think that has a lot to do with it. Effort comes with what? Culture. Your mentality. You gotta get back to playing hard, playing to win. Regardless if we're going to be a top 3 team. We all know that. But culture is important. Effort is important. Identity is important. That's what we're trying to build right now. And that's what's going to serve this team well going forward. Inexperience. Yeah. I mean, like I said, this team's young. And yes, you do have leadership. Jordan Poole's there, Chris Middleton, Marcus Smart, Sean Holmes, Anthony Gill. But I don't think inexperience is too much of an excuse to me. Yeah, there's inexperience, but you got to have that passion. You got to have that chip on the shoulder. You got to be willing to, play hard and try to win these games, regardless of the record. I say it all the time, culture matters. And that is the one part of this rebuild that shines right now because, look, Bob Carrington is still a rookie. Alex Sarr is still a rookie. Keyshawn Jordan is still a rookie. And Bilal is out for the year. So, like I said, these guys are still early on in the process. So, you see that you definitely see the potential with all these guys, AB. But don't forget these guys are rookie. And these guys have to be developed. Like I said, it's just a rookie campaign. So, I think it was a combination of inexperience and effort. But like I said, offensive rebounding is part of defense. They allowed the Boston Celtics to extend possession. So real quick, AB, again, you kind of mentioned already, they gave up 25 offensive rebounds. That allowed, and there was a few sequences, AB, where we had 3-4 touches, and we still couldn't stop them from scoring, man. I mean, it was ridiculous, in my opinion. And because, again, those 25 offensive rebounds led to 32 second chance points. So, I mean, that's just, we've got a box.
They're not with Jason Tatum or Kristaps Porzingis. I get it. The Celtics they're a really good team, but it's just 34 points. It's frustrating. It really is. As a Wizards fan right now, seeing this, you want to be optimistic, but this is the stuff that's holding you back when the Celtics, they're down a couple, man. I get it. They have that experience, but at the end of the day, the effort's it's still not there, and it's frustrating.
No, I agree. And here's the thing, though. You culture and effort has to be important because that's how you progress. You got to put the effort into it. Like these guys aren't automatically just going to develop. It's not a given, man. You got to have the right parts of the process, which is playing hard, playing to win. It's not a given, and these guys are just going to develop into these great, players down the road. They have to put in the work and they have to show their aggression on the defense, on both sides of the ball. In my opinion, that's how important culture is. Offensive rebounding. Kind of goes down to Sarr a little bit. I'm kind of looking at Sarr. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Sarr. I think he's going to be a good player in this league. But defensively, AB, there's times where he ball watches. And, giving up that many offensive rebounds, I kind of watch his game exclusively, man. And boxing out has been an issue all year long for him. So, I mean, looking at Sarr, is one thing you really want to see him, or a couple things you really want to see him kind of improve on, is boxing out and, kind of stopping off his rebounding and stop ball watching and really, communicate a little more in defense?
No, definitely. Again, we 7 foot for a reason. That wingspan that he has. Like today's NBA, you're 7 foot. You better be getting rebounds because again, you're going against guys that are bigger than you. You're going to be against teams that are going to crash the glass. And for so long in DC, it just hasn't been the best thing or the best idea. No rebounding, and it's frustrating and it's hard to win games. So I'm hoping whether he puts on some muscle, some size this offseason, or just figures out a way. Look at it, Justin Champagnie, 15 points. 13 rebounds, a double-double. A guy that's 6'5", 6'6", getting that many rebounds. It's all about effort at the end of the day. Clearly, we look at the numbers right there. So I hope he gets better. I hope he learns from it. I just hope it's a learning. It's a rookie year. I get it, but if it's just becoming a common theme within these next couple of years throughout his career, then that's definitely cause for concern as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%, AB. I mean, he has got to learn to be a center. I think that, playing in the NBL, they kind of allowed him to do whatever he want. They had him bringing the ball up. They had him believing that he was a small forward. I don't think they really prepared him for the highest level. He plays like a small forward. He needs to play like a 7-foot center. I mean, he has to go in there and box out. There's no excuse that you give up that many offensive rebounds. I mean, and then you kind of mentioned already, AB. I mean, you got Justin Champagnie, who is a dog. I mean, BK's finest, man, getting in there and getting 13 rebounds. But then you look at Alex Sarr, 4 rebounds. He's your 7 foot. You've got to get in the paint. When you watch this team, when you see them set up, AP, everybody's on the perimeter. Nobody's trying to get in the paint. Nobody's trying to box out. Nobody's trying to, get their body in the best position to get that rebound. Everybody's on the perimeter. Everybody's looking to shoot that 3-point shot. And it's frustrating to watch because, I had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago. We were talking about, how the game has evolved. And like I said, I get everybody wants to be Stephen Curry. And here's the biggest thing. Guys who are shooting threes now weren't shooting threes 15 years ago. And like I said, I do like the excitement of the 3-point evolution. And but here's the thing: you can't be a 3-point shooting team to a fault. Like you got to get active in the paint. And then there's players in this team that are active mid-range in the paint. Bob Carrington showing a lot more energy driving the lane. Jordan Poole, man, a lot of good looks in the paint tonight. But overall, outside of Bub and Jordan Poole, man, we're resorting to threes too much. Either resorting to threes or being really leaning heavily on the 3-point shot, or we're not utilizing the shot clock, man. We're not. It used to be where coaches wanted 2-3 touches per possession, not anymore. And it's like one possession of shooting a 3, and then Sarr, the brother has to get in the lane. You're 7 foot, get in the lane, box out, and get rebounds. That's why you're here, man. Look, we don't need another 3-point shooter. Now, I do like the fact that he has that part of his game, and that really shows that he's the modern day NBA center where he can stretch from the floor. Get active. He hit a couple nice mid-range shots tonight, but look, you're 7 foot, you're a center. Get in there, box out, hold down the paint. I do not want to see Alex Sarr on the perimeter watching other people shoot. Get down there and AB, is that kind of where you're at with Sarr, man? Like I said, I think he's a good player. I think he will be a good player in this league, man. But I mean, do you think he needs to really put a stamp on the center position?
No, definitely, because that's why he was drafted. And for so long here in DC, we haven't had that center where offensively they're going at it, defensively and rebounding just what hasn't been there. And we're hoping that Alex Sarr is that guy that can fix that. By the end of the day, if you're the Washington Wizards, I think I have full faith in they can develop this guy. I get it, year 1 rookie, but going to year 2, I think there will be improvement. And alongside, hopefully, with their top 5 pick, Bilal Coulibaly and this young talent, I think he'll adjust. Again, he came from the Australian League, you got to mind that. But at the end of the day, for Alex Sarr, I'm full confident. He's gotten better. That's the big thing. That's the theme of the season, where in the second half, he's gotten better. And that Nuggets game, we've seen flashes, 34 points. So I think he's gonna be able to bounce back from his rookie year and just improve year in, year out. It's just gonna take some time, and hopefully with that time gets better, more aggressive, puts on more size. Maybe Kevin Garnett can hit him up with a workout or two. So we just got to be patient. We'll see. Hopefully, all the best for Alex Sarr. I'm still confident that if he wasn't hurt, and after Jeremy came down, he would have won Rookie of the Year.
Oh no, look, don't get it twisted. Alex Sarr is gonna be a star. I mean, you've seen this fact that he's gotten better every single week. Like I said, a lot of people, I mean, not a lot, but there were certain people calling him a bust at the 5 Summer games. I feel like that was very unfair, very early in the process. You really can't determine what a player's trajectory is going to be at the Summer League and the rookie campaign. It's still very raw offensively. We know that he can stretch the floor. I love that he fits the mold of the modern day center, but eventually he's got to become more of a well-rounded center. He's got to be more active in the paint. 7 foot, you got to be that center, man. We cannot continue to allow him to hang out on the perimeter. He's got to get in there, box out, and hold down the paint. He's got to dominate the paint, in my opinion. So we're going to stay on the subject matter, man. Alex Sarr. How can the Wizards unlock Alex Sarr on both ends of the court? We're going to explore that. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your money. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing money and start building wealth. And like I said, if you're looking to make that next step in your life, whether it's buying your first home or your next home, right, getting into the stock market or looking to invest in property or in businesses, Monarch Money is definitely your first stop, man, because like I said, it gives you an opportunity to kind of put all your finances in one portfolio, man, and really control all your money, right? And also can definitely help you become more, financially responsible. So if you're looking to not only, if you're not looking to buy a home or take the next step as far as a homeowner or a business owner, if you just want to be more financially responsible, they can definitely help you out with that. So look, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Monarch Money. All right, let's stick on Alex Sarr, shall we? So I think we both agree, AB, that Alex Sarr is going to be a very special player in this league. He just needs some time, just needs some development. And look, hey, we're in a rebuild, so we got that for you. But how can the Wizards, and before we get into your take, man, and the reason we kind of brought this subject matter up tonight is there's a few times where I noticed that Alex Sarr was driving to the lane, or not driving to the lane, but slashing through the lane. And, it really made me think, how can I get him more active in offense? Because can he lean on that three-point shot a little much? Yes. So, AB, looking at it from an offensive standpoint, man, offensively, how can the Wizards try to unlock Alex Sarr?
Tell him to get on the block and post hook something. That's what I like to see. I like his jump hook. I think he can get better at it. Drop step, but the old school, man. And I get it. Shooting the three is nice in today's NBA, being a center and all, but you got to be aggressive. If you're a 7-footer, you have to be inside the 3-point line and make a move. I also think him and Jordan Poole pick and rolls, that would be very ideal. Maybe if you get a him and Bub on the pick and roll would be good as well. But just ISOs one-on-one, especially when it's guys that are 4 or 5 inches shorter than him, go ahead and put your back on him and make a move. I think that even sometimes if he wants to play point, I want to see that. It's just whatever they do, just make sure he's involved. I just don't want to see Alex Sarr in the corner of the 3-point line just standing there and just waiting to go back on defense. Because, again, that's frustrating to see. So just get him involved no matter what way it is, but preferably in the paint and see if we can get a post hook or two and get it down.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I agree 100%. How looking to unlock him offensively, when it comes to how can he unlock himself, we both made it known. Definitely block out, get active in rebounding. Look at what JC does, man. Justin Shipping, how many times did he get offensive rebounds tonight and put the ball back up? That is what he needs to do. He's 7 foot tall. Box out, get the offensive rebound, put the ball up. I think he can get a lot of post points just from that, man. I'm telling you, I mean, if he learns how to dominate the paint, box out, and really put his stamp on the paint, he will be more efficient in the paint. Like I said, the 3-point shot to me at his position, at his size, is a complementary skill. It's not your first go-to. You're not brought here to be a sniper. You're brought here to be a 7-foot center and a guy who can play at power forward. You're not here to be a small forward or two guard. You're not here for your 3-point shooting. That is a complementary piece. So he needs to learn to be more polished inside. Now he's shown a lot more touch. He's got that spin move. Now he needs to work on the spin move a little bit, but he's getting into the paint a lot more. I will give him that. He's looking to be more of a force in the paint, but now you see a lot more aggression, but it's uncontrolled aggression. So you're seeing a lot of turnovers. He's got to learn to control that aggression. Aggression is a beautiful thing if you can control that. Now, if you don't control it, then it's just his aggression where it's a detriment. And then you see that at times where he'll spin through the lane, and then there's times where the opposing defense knows what he's doing, and they go in and get the steal, or he loses the ball. So he needs to learn to control that aggression. I love the aggression. We need it. We need to see a lot more from Alex Sarr, but it needs to be controlled aggression, in my opinion. How can the team unlock him? Well, offensively, get him active in pick and roll. He's with that size, man. He can be a lob threat all day, every day of the week. Unlock him, make him a lob threat. I saw him tonight. He's getting through the lane swift, man. For a 7-footer, he's swift with his feet, man. He can definitely roll through the lane. And there's a few times where I would count probably 2 to 3 opportunities where they could have found him wide open in lane. Get him active in the pick and roll. Not so much in the pick and pop. They do a lot of pick and pop on the outside, man. Whereas he'll come up, set a pick, try to get a shooter open. And if they're not open, they'll do another pick and pop. And it's a cycle, AP, where it's just, this pick doesn't work. Oh, let me go ahead and set another pick. And that's why he stays on the perimeter, because he's always at the top of the key setting picks. Pick and roll, man. With guards like Bub Carrington, like guards with Jordan Poole, with guards like A.J. Johnson. I mean, look at what they do with A.J. Johnson. A.J. Johnson gets a lot of his open looks from what? Pick and roll. So Alex Sarr can eat on the pick and roll. So AB, defensively, how can he unlock himself, and how can the team help him unlock himself defensively?
I think you talked about it. Got to stop ball watching. I know it's from kindergarten to pros. It's so common. But if you're Alex Sarr, you got to make sure you're ball and man at all times. Because, again, at the end of the day, this NBA, obviously they can shoot it from 3, but they'll take it down the lane, and rebounding, it's a big thing. So, again, go back into the frame that you have. Go out there and 2 hands and bring it down. I think at the end of the day, if you're Alex Sarr, you have the ability to be a paint protector as well. We've seen it. It's shown flashes of him having 3-4 blocks a game. So I think the sky's the limit for him defensively, and you pair him with Coulibaly, maybe potentially Cooper Flagg. I think this team is going to be very good defensively, but it all starts with Alex Sarr. All starts with the center position. And then once he solidifies that role, I think everything else is going to come easy for him. And I think offensively he'll be okay. I think defensively he'll be okay as well. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I think he will be all right, man, because I think that Alex Sarr he's going to be a star in this league. I think he just needs to develop. But I'll say this. This is a hot take, man. I think that they, in the offseason, bring some people in that can work with him, and have some former Wizards / Bullets in the process come back to the organization. We often talk about Kevin Garnett. Bring Ben Wallace back. Bring Rasheed Wallace back. Bring him back. There's time to honor these guys. I mean, we've had Gil Arenas back in the arena. I've seen George Marison up there. We've seen John Wall up there. I think that it kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Bring some former Wizards back, and have them work with him, because Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace were guys where Rasheed Wallace was more he can stretch the floor a lot more than Ben Wallace, because Ben Wallace is more of a traditional big, but both of them played with attitude. They played with that chip. And we look at Alex Sarr, when you want to battle out in the paint, you got to have some attitude, man. You got to have some. You got to have some cojones, man. Like, you got to go in there and you got to be ready to go to war. Justin Shimpney carries that Brooklyn attitude. He's ready to battle it out in the paint, man. And that's why, from a guy his size, man, he makes up for that in the paint with aggression, with that mentality. Bring Ben Wallace back. Bring Rasheed Wallace back. Let them work with him a little bit. Because if he can be more aggressive, play more with a chip, controlled aggression. I mean, even though, Rasheed Wallace, I know he was the guy with a lot of text, man, but like I said, he's got to play with a chip. And he was a good player for that, man, because he just played with attitude. Same thing with Ben Wallace. So I would bring those 2 back and have them work with him. I would definitely reach out to Kevin Garnett, man. But bring a couple former Wizards back, man. Former Bullets. Bring him back. Work with him. Because how do you unlock him? He's got, and I don't know if there's a way that the team can unlock him, maybe. I think it's all on him, because the team can't put him in the best position to get off his rebounds. I mean, the team can't force him to communicate. He ball watches, and there's times where he's lost in the sauce. But then there's times where when he's in the paint and you see where he's dominating the paint, he puts his stamp on the paint. So that's why I think when it comes to unlocking his defense, man, it starts with the inside out. He needs to solidify who he is defensively inside, and then you can see whether you can push him out to the paint a little bit, if you can unlock those abilities to maybe put him at the 4. Because right now he's not ready to be a power forward, because you put him on the perimeter. with his lateral movement, man, the way it is, these guys who are faster than him, those Jason Tatum, you play him at the 4, they're going to blow by him, man. So that's what I'm saying. You work with him in the paint and then push his capabilities out. So before we roll, you agree or disagree?
No, I definitely agree. Maybe even bring back Nene. He was a guy that was pretty, he was something in the paint. He was button heads. But again, I think for Alex Sarr, it's growing pains at the end of the day. This is year one. And from where he was from the summer league to where people view him now, it's gone a lot better. Hopefully. There's no way you still think he's a bust because that was absurd after those summer league games. But I think I have full faith in this coaching staff, this front office that they'll develop in. And I think we really have a franchise center here in DC.
I agree 100. Alex Sarr, very raw, but he is going to be the future at the center position here in the nation's cap. So we're going to move on to comments. We got a couple of good discussions, so we're going to have our own discussion, man. So we're going to get into the comments, but before we do, well, the question is tonight. I mean, look at it. Shug Biz says, "Are we ready to buy Brian Keefe a bus ticket out of DC yet?" So intriguing. Before we get into that, we're going to move on to the ad real quick. So before we get into comments and answering that question, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So I say it all the time, guys. I'm very, very active on FanDuel. They give you a lot of opportunities to make money, man. So again, with the NBA playoffs coming up, prime opportunity to make some money, man. But also baseball season is here. And again, the baseball season gives you another great opportunity to make some cash. So look, do yourself a favor. Don't miss out on all the money, man. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 and bonus bets today. FanDuel. All right, AB, let's get into this, man. So, like I said, guys, we are going to start being a lot more selective with the comments, man. We're going to try to find the key comments, man, and really build discussions off of that, man, and just really work on time. So, like I said, we're going to start with this one real quick. Should Biz One says, "Are we ready to buy BK a bus ticket out of DC yet?" All right, so I'm going to let you start with this, AB. Are you ready to say quits when it comes to Coach BK, or do you think there's still some room for improvement?
I think it is a little too soon. Right now, you're at 17 wins, 15 wins last year, so a slight improvement. I think next year, I think the goal should be 25 to 30, but if you don't crack 20 next year, then it's definitely some cause for concern. I get it. Coach Keefe was given a lot. His first couple of years, it was developing young guys, but also trying to get the values of try to increase the value of a lot of veterans on this team. But now you're just focusing on the young guys and the youth movement. So I think it's a little too soon. But again, if you're 3, there's no improvement win-wise or players aren't progressing, then it's got to be some definitely cause for concern and potentially getting him fired. But I love him. I'm a big Coach Keefe guy, so we'll see what goes into this. This offseason is going to be very interesting to see how he does.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big BK guy myself, man. I was a big advocate for him getting the head coaching job because outside of his resume, which he has an immaculate resume as far as developing high-end talent, but the defense. And like I said, the defense has been heckling job. Jekyll and Hyde. I kind of made my own mini-series there, right? Jekyll and Hyde, man, very inconsistent. But let's not forget this, okay? He's the first-time head coach. I mean, he took over for Wes Jr. last year. This is his first official season as a head coach. And it's one thing to be an assistant coach. It's a totally different experience to run your own staff. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's different. It's one thing being a scout. It's another thing being a general manager, man. Totally two different sizes of responsibility. So like I said, he's still figuring out how to be a head coach. As a motivator, he's done well. I think he motivates these guys. He's a guy who definitely holds them to a standard. The defense, can you exclusively put it on him? Yes and no. The mentality has to be on the players too. The coach can yell and yell and yell to his face is blue. But if they're not willing to put in the effort, then they got to be willing to put in the energy on the court. So I think it's an energy thing. I think it's inexperience, yes, but I mean, you still want to see some fight out of these young guys, man. So I am with you on that. I'm with you. I definitely think it's too early. Now, I think you give them next season. 2 things I want to see next year. I want to see 20 wins plus, and I need to see better defense because you can't use the MO of defense. I mean, development, we see the development is happening. We see that, but defense is something else that's attributed to Brian Keefe. I want to see a better defense because the defense has to get better, man. Effort has to get better. So
especially since the bar is so low, B. There's only 30 teams in the NBA, and The Wizards are probably bottom 5 in a lot of defensive categories, so there has to be some room for improvement.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. So, Stuart Flaherty says they need to draft for defense. Forget the daggone wing with upside crap. They need to draft a big rebounder who plays defense with a sense of purpose. D and rebounding are mostly effort and attitude. And like I said, we're going to talk about Cooper Flagg in his draft tomorrow, man. So definitely tune in at 7 o'clock tomorrow, because Cooper Flagg may go back to Duke, which changes the draft strategy for the Wizards. So, like I said, I ain't gonna give you guys too much of a sneak peek, but that's what we're talking about tomorrow night. But defense, I mean, you know, like I said, we're going to cover Cooper Flagg, but in the event that he goes back to Duke, that changes the focus of the draft, man. And, do you, at this point, you got Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, and probably VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson. And we've made it known, both of us, AB, that we are kind of happy with the guard rotation of Jordan Poole, Bob Carrington, and AJ Johnson. You still got Marcus Smart. So, I mean, they don't necessarily need to go after a guard. So do you see a scenario becoming more and more plausible that they could try to trade back and get a Derek Queen?
Oh man, that's a nightmare situation if Cooper Flagg does stay in Duke. But again, I wouldn't mind bringing back the DMV guy, Derek Queen, pairing him with Alex Sarr. But at the end of the day, whatever this organization does, I have full faith in them. And if Cooper Flagg does stay, I think they have that plan, a plan B and a plan C. And the guy out of Florida, I think Clayton Jr., his stock has been rising after that performance in that Final Four game. So this draft coming up is going to be very interesting. And if they trade back, acquire a lot of draft capital, maybe in the 2026 draft, maybe make some moves there. So it's going to be great. I still think I get it. He wants to win a championship at Duke, but I still think he's going to declare, just because I don't think he doesn't want to pass up the opportunity of playing in the NBA at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, if Cooper Flagg does go back to Duke, it does change the draft strategy, obviously. Dylan Harper, like I said, I don't think you necessarily need to look at guard. Now, I'm a big fan of Dylan Harper, and I would not be upset if they went after him, but then that also calls for other decisions. You go after Dylan Harper, then somebody's not coming back. Let's be real. So that's definitely a subject that we're going to be talking about within the next couple of weeks, man, because that is a very real possibility. I think Derek Queen could be the target. Now, the center out of Duke, Malok, out of South Sudan, I think he's another option where if you, with the versatility of Alex Sarr, you could go out there and grab a guy like Malak, man, and look, that's 2 7-footers in your front court. So I think that could be another option. Grab another 7-footer. We mentioned both him, Malak out of Duke, but also Danny Wolf out of Michigan. I mean, that's another option. But with Derek Queen, you got a guy at power forward who he definitely slots in the power forward because he's 6'10". His footwork, scoring wise in the paint, with his defense, I think he would fit nicely next to Alex Sarr. Because, like I said, Alex Sarr, to be a legitimate power forward, he needs to work on his lateral defense, man. And like I said, he needs work as far as solidifying who he is in the paint as a center. He's not ready to go closer to the perimeter, man. He's not ready yet. So I think you go out there and get that power forward. And like I said, the biggest name to me is Derek Queen. Now, Austin Newell is another guy to look at. He has some size. He has some athletic ability. He's another guy that we could possibly grab in the later stages of the first round. But I think that you look at power forward because we have a good assortment of guards, and we need to improve defense in the interior, and we need to improve rebounding. Rebounding is killing this team. It has been killing us for a couple of years now. We've got to be better at rebounding because we continue to give other teams the opportunity to have second or third looks. You're tiring out your defense. And I think that's another, something else to look at, AB, is are they just tired? Because when you give us so many offensive rebounds, your defense is, you're pretty much tiring out your defense, man. So I think that rebounding has to be prioritized in this draft coming up. So definitely appreciate the comment, my guy. Studer Fed, it was good. He also has another good comment, and going back to coaching with this comment real quick, AB. The problem with the coaching for all the coaches since Unstill Jr. is that BS no effort defense hasn't cost players minutes. Play defense like your hair is on fire. Sit that. You already know what I'm saying. All right, so I kind of put this in the article for SI, man, which is it has. I think they're a little comfortable right now, which is they all know what it is. They're young players. It's a rebuild. They're going to give us a lot of rope to kind of figure out who we are. But here's the thing. What happened to playing like you're playing for your job? I think they need to get back to playing like they don't have a tomorrow. Play for your spot because this mode of thinking like I've already made it. I think they become a little comfortable. AB, do you agree with me or what do you think?
No, definitely. I get a lot of young guys on this team, but it's all about effort, I think, defensively and just going up there and being that guy, closing out on shooters, the switches you talked about. The one way to beat the Wizards would the only way a lot of teams are doing it is just like if you can switch, and then they're just not good at adjustments. So at the end of the day, if you're the Wizards, you young squad, but you want that theme of playing D and back here in DC because it just hasn't been apparent for so long, and you're hoping for improvement, and I think there will be. It's just given this offseason, I think they'll definitely get better, especially rebounding as well. That's one thing that we need to harp on if we want to be a lot of these teams, especially compete in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. So we got one more comment before we call it night. It's my guy, DC Onion. How you doing tonight, brother? And he says, Cooper Flagg ain't going back to Duke. So AB, I mean, when it comes to the curious case of Cooper Flagg, do you think the money's going to be calling, man? Or do you think that, with the comments he made about wanting to finish, his career at Duke with a championship, do you think that holds true? What do you think?
As much as I feel like he wants to stay on with his word, I think he will be going to the NBA. I think the money's just going to talk. He's going to see the opportunities, and I think with all this hype, I think it's going to. I can't see a world where he says, "No, I'm going to stay in college." I think he wants to go to the league, start his career. Just turned 18 years old, so he's going to have a great career, and it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plans out. If he doesn't go to the NBA, he stays back in Duke another year. So I can't wait. I'm hoping he comes to the NBA because the Wizards get that first overall pick. They're running the podium and announcing Cooper Flagg out of Duke.
Yeah, I think that Cooper Flagg is going to see the money. I mean, the money is too good to pass something. I think he will be a star here in DC. I think that DC has the right opportunity not only for Cooper Flagg to be a star, but for anybody in the top 5 to come to DC. I think they can definitely fit in what they're trying to do here because I think that we are a couple pieces from being a very young and dangerous team in the Eastern Conference. You already have an immaculate young core. You have some veterans here who could be long-term pieces. You have some veterans here who have instilled a lot of leadership and aggressiveness with this team. I think that the success with this team comes down to decisions like we talked about earlier, bringing in a guy like Ben Wallace, bringing in a guy like Rasheed Wallace, bringing some guys in to the organization and really work with these guys, kind of like how Marcin Gortat did coming back in the organization, man. So I think that's the best recipe for success. So, all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Now, looking forward tomorrow, we're going to talk about what if Cooper Flagg goes back to Duke? How does that change the Wizards' focus on the draft? And then we're going to go live on Tuesday night because the Wizards. Let me pull up the schedule real quick because this is the last week of the regular season for the Washington Wizards, that is. All right, so I'm going to give you guys an itinerary for the last week of the regular season. So, again, Tuesday night, the Washington Wizards are in Indiana, 7 o'clock tip-off, so we will be going live around 9:30. And then Wednesday, the last home game of the year, home against the 76ers, I will be there covering the team, so definitely put out all the good content covering this team. So definitely tune in with your boys over here at Locked On Wizards. And then the last 2 games of the year at Chicago on Friday night and then at Miami on Sunday night. So like I said, Sunday night, that rounds it out for the Washington Wizards. So like I said, get back to that culture. Try to get some wins before we roll out, man. All right, AB, before we roll, you got anything else you want to cover?
I know it's crazy. The season goes by fast, but this offseason, I can't wait. I'm full confident what this front office is going to do. I think we're going to get the number 1 overall pick. I'm trying not to be biased, but I think we do. And it's gonna be exciting. And I think year 3 of this rebuild, it's gonna be a lot of improvements. It's gonna be a lot more fun too.
Got you. I agree 100%, my brother. So all right, everybody, we're gonna call it a night. See everybody at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Hail to the Wizards and peace.